Anyway, let's get back to free will. I think we haven't talked about that enough. I really don't think we have. So my introduction to getting back into it in this video is going to be a recent interaction I had with someone. Now, one thing is that there were things about her up front, political things she put in her profile, just a lot of red flags. And even attraction-wise, there were things that I wasn't that into, blah, blah, blah. The point is that I knew this wasn't a good idea. She, as we communicated, let me know as well. She didn't know anything about political differences, but based on the distance, whatever. So anyway, clear dead end, yet, and she even stated that she doesn't want a dead, she wants something real, blah, blah, blah. But we continued to interact. So this is two people with no free will, right? Two people with no free will. But eventually I made a comment about her t-shirt in one of her pictures, something about the patriarchy, which is obviously just code for I hate men. I'd respect it more if it just said I hate men. But that's what it is. And I started getting into that with her at some point, telling her that her shirt is a red flag. She said it shouldn't be a red flag to a secure man. And then I explained that it has something to do with being secure. I also wouldn't recommend that she date a man with a feminism sucks shirt. And she immediately went into abortion and that men rule everything and make laws about women's body. That's the patriarchy. It's men think they know what's best for women. They make the laws about women's bodies, telling them if they can and can't have an abortion. I mean, she just brings up abortion in nowhere, right? That's the thing, abortion. And how it's no man's business, and that if people think abortion is wrong, then they don't have to get one. But if she wants an abortion, she wants to have one. Anyway, I was trying to explain to her this is not really logical. It's not really about that. It's really about a philosophical issue. Like, do you think the fetus is a baby? Is that wrong? Blah, 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 whatever. And I'm not even saying whether or not, I really wasn't getting into specifically what I think about that. More just that you can't just say it's a matter of, things are a matter of choice, and that if I want it, then I want it. I mean, you can say that, but you can't pretend like that's a really sound argument, because if we were to determine, right, that, I mean, she probably would agree that you can't be 9 months pregnant and then take the baby out and beat it to death with a hammer, right? Now, I'm not trying to, strawman her but the point is, it's not the whole argument. My body, my choice is not really a good argument. You got to really get a little bit deeper than that. That's what I think anyway, to make your point. And I think there's probably some interesting arguments on both sides, actually. Anyway, the real point wasn't to get too deep into abortion here, and there's probably not a lot of point in overanalyzing this character that she is, because I've done that in past videos, right? The girls with pink hair and the septum ring or whatever, which actually I don't know if she probably did have the nose ring, actually. I don't remember, actually. Don't want to say that for sure. Didn't have pink hair. But anyway, the whole thing, right? The kind of girl who wears the patriarchy shirt and doesn't like kids and whatever. But, I was thinking more about this free will thing. And even the argument that I was having, this person who was arguing with me about this, in their own life, they expressed to me many times these poor choices that they keep making, or negative habits that they just can't seem to break, or knowing that they should do something but they don't do it for this sort of irrational reason, but they can't stop having these irrational thoughts, and it's like, hello. I mean, yeah, okay. And so does that prove that there's absolutely no free will? Or we can get into the weeds and, find exceptions and whatever. But what I believe is pretty fucking clear is that, yes, we can have that sort of philosophy, like, everything is about choice and everything, some people, they take it to the extreme, right? When they're like, you choose every day to be happy. It's like, it's your choice, as if like, you wake up one day and your entire family dies in a plane accident and you get run over by a car, and by the end of the day, you're, going to a funeral of all your family and you're permanently in a wheelchair, and then a flock of seagulls during the funeral flies over, they all somehow dump their shit like right on your head and your face, like it pours into your mouth, and it's like you have a choice whether or not to be happy in that moment. It's like probably I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna go with no. And now, whether or not from there we get into, well, how do you react to that moment? You can choose how to react. Even that, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, are we really going to, just from an intuitive, common sense kind of level, do you think the person that experiences that kind of day really has total control in how, when those birds are shitting, you're in the wheelchair at the funeral of your entire family, and the birds are shitting in your mouth, that you have total say-so on how you respond to that. Totally. It just, I just don't think so. I don't think so. But that's just like my opinion, man. That's just like my opinion. But anyway, how does this relate back to, well, we know how it relates back to this thing with the abortion thing. I've repeatedly talked about these kind of interactions, and it's like, it's an interaction that you could say that I know better than to have, right? She has the patriarch, she's literally wearing, well, I guess you wouldn't say literally, it's not a literal red flag, but I was going to say, she's literally wearing the red flag, as close as you can get to literally wearing one, on her body, on her shirt. She might as well have a shirt that says, I have stupid opinions that involve a unfair assessment about you. I will treat you poorly, and my political narrative will be used to justify that. I will make bad arguments on all sorts of subjects, even some that you might even agree with me on as far as the conclusion goes, but still my arguments will be so bad that you really would rather me not have that opinion at all. Yeah, but no. It's all on the t-shirt, right? But what I'm trying to say is that this isn't me trying to somehow, I could have this interaction with this person and never share it with anybody, right? This isn't I don't have to justify anything. This isn't me even justifying to myself, right? Like, why would I? I don't really even feel compelled to. I don't feel guilty about it, really. So there's no justifying or playing word games to make myself feel better, because I don't feel guilty about the interaction. What I feel with the interaction is just, it's kind of like a stupid use, let's just say it's at least a stupid use of my time and energy. I can think of things that I could have done with that time of interacting with her. There's work things I could have caught up on. There's books I could be reading. Just even mindless entertainment would be better. Put me in a better mood. I could be watching Netflix, whatever. I could go on and on listing things I could have been doing instead. So on some level, though, so it's not really me trying to excuse me, because I don't feel the need to make an excuse. But it's the thing is, when you look at it, you're like, there's some part of me, right? A large part, whether or not we say it's no control, whatever percentage we give or don't give, based on a whole history of experiences, genetics plus environment, everything that's gone on, all the things that have formed who I am, what makes me react, all kind of things that I could try to analyze, but I'll miss some variables, of course, along the way, but has made it to where, at first maybe we could say, okay, I was just interacting because it was, exciting, fun, we were saying some sexual things that I found exciting, and, I orgasmed, so that would be an incentive to interact. But then, to continue the interaction and to get into the whole thing about patriarchy and abortion, knowing that, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could argue I didn't know where that would lead. But yeah, I could predict that, that's just going to be a kind of frustrating interaction, right? Because I know once you start saying these kind of stupid, mindless things. But, I did it anyway. And there probably are reasons, right? And I think there are reasons. And I'm not saying that they're good or bad reasons. I'm kind of saying that they're sort of neutral. I'm saying that they're neutral because they are what they are, right? Whatever those reasons are, right? Now we could put a label on each one. If we could measure out all the variables, we could say this is a negative, but that's really all human assessment, like mumbo jumbo. But the reality is, if we're just trying to at least get out of that sort of subjective, judging, whatever, putting all my spin on everything, there's a variety of factors that caused me to be that person in that moment who either finds it extremely difficult or doesn't even really in the moment fully occur to me, maybe we'll not continue this text exchange. It's maybe eventually that might occur to me, but in the moment, it's just going. It's just happening, right? It really is. And that happens with a lot of things, like people who pick their scabs or whatever. I mean, we've probably all done it, but, different things that, and I've given sort of different examples before about food and other things, but just all the things that we know, we can make a list. We can all make a list of what are bad decisions for me. And despite making that list, every single person is still going to end up doing some of the things on that list. And why? What is the reason? Now, we can talk about, really at the end of the day, they rather have this experience than that experience. And maybe that's true. Maybe, there was some incentive going on there, right? Why am I in this habit? There must be something, that cycle is feeding something, right? And that's probably all true. But still, the point remains that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the sort of freedom element, right? And there is a part of me that likes to think or has liked to think in the past, and maybe it's true, that almost is there a way through analyzing, contemplation, discussing, whatever, even as I'm having this conversation with myself, can I somehow get to a place where, let's say next time I'm talking to one of these patriarchy sucks t-shirt, type girls, that I'm like, wait, should I even interact at all? Should I interact and never bring up the t-shirt? Maybe I'll slow this down, and that maybe that has some sort of impact. But it's not really me, I'm not making some sort of excuse or whatever when I admit right now that if a week from now that one of these girls presents themselves to me, that based on all these things that have led me to do it in the past, probably it might not happen. I might go for it anyway. And maybe it's because it's entertaining to me. Maybe it's because there's some sort of sexual attraction to the person, so it makes it fun, even if it is a little bit confrontational. It could be a variety of factors combined, right? But it's not as simple as me saying, oh, this seems unproductive, therefore I will never do it again. Because look at all of us. Look at all of us. I mean, every single person out there, anyone who is listening to this, can think of all the things they do that seem to be unhelpful to their life, unproductive, whatever word you want to use for not so great, and then you're still going to do some of those things. Now, at the end of the day, maybe it's a semantics, just meaningless thing, whether we say, well, that's choice and that's personal responsibility, or we say, oh, that was just always going to be that way, or that's just who you are, and the environmental factors led that to happen. But what often is the case is you could look at it like a deterministic explanation is sort of excusing behavior. And then the free will angle sometimes can be used as, oh, I can shame you or judge you because you had the choice. And I'm saying it's really not necessarily it's really neither of those things, at least for me. I don't like the, oh, well, because I believe in free will, like, I'm going to shame your choices or whatever. Or because I'm a determinist, I'm going to think that it's not so bad that you did this thing or whatever. It's really, I'm not that interested. I mean, that could be an interesting conversation to have, but that's not really the angle that I'm taking in these conversations so much. I'm not saying you should forgive people or whatever simply because of or make excuses because of a deterministic worldview. And I'm not advocating that even if you could prove free will totally exists, oh, that's reason to shame everyone, or you can judge more because of this. It's just me observing how things seem to work and what seems to me to be the most logical conclusion. Now, just based on sort of intuition and observation, but also if we go into just the whole, okay, doesn't everything, just the basic deterministic arguments, everything has always seemed to be pretty much cause and effect. When things happen with physical objects or even with animals, we can seem to, oh, why does the dog behave this way? Why does the dog do this trick? Because you trained it with treats, right? It's not. Now you could say it's the dog's free will, but really, pretty much. I don't know if any dog. Most dogs you can train to do whatever you want them to do, and that sort of exists with humans. It's really the same way. You could train humans the same way, and in a sense, we all are trained. It's just less obvious. We've all been trained since birth to behave in various ways. We've received numerous punishments and rewards for all sorts of behaviors, and that sort of has molded us into who we are, even if it's so complicated and there are so many punishments and rewards, from obvious ones to minor ones, that we can't possibly figure out the whole total equation, right? But just because we can't figure out every single element of every life experience we've had that's led us to be who we are, to make that exact decision, doesn't mean that the basic principle, the basic thesis behind that is invalid just because there's so much information that we can't possibly hash out and make observation of.